Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really going on a bit of a journey, one that I think promises some genuinely surprising connections between, well, ancient wisdom and cutting-edge
A
science.
fascinating area.
It really is. We're going to unpack how traditional practices, ones based on principles that might seem totally unscientific to us now, sometimes pointed directly to remedies that actually worked.
Hmm.
So the big question we're wrestling with today is, how on earth did people remember and pass on the uses of literally thousands of plants before modern science, before even widespread literacy?
Right. And that question takes us straight into ethnobotany. That's the study of how people traditionally use plants for medicine, religion, you name it.
Okay.
And it's deeply tied into what we call traditional ecological knowledge, or tech. This is stuff passed down generation after generation.
So knowledge built over centuries.
Exactly. And our main theme today is really the enduring value of that folk wisdom, how intuition, sometimes through ideas like the doctrine of signatures, which sounds a bit whimsical,
A little bit, yeah.
how that often kicked off discoveries that science later proved right. Serendipity, almost, but guided.
That's a really compelling idea. So the why they used it might have been, intuitive, maybe based on looks.
Yeah, a visual link,
But
perhaps?
there was a real effectiveness hidden underneath. So how did they filter? How did they know which intuitive leaps were right and which were just folklore or even dangerous? What was the ancient quality control?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's unpack it with a really good example. St. John's wort, Hypericum perforatum.
Okay, I know that one.
Right. So if you hold its leaves up to the light, they look like they have tiny holes, perforations. And if you crush the flowers, you get this red oil. Looks a bit like blood.
Okay.
Traditionally, guided partly by these signatures, these signs,
Yeah.
it was used for wounds, the perforations maybe, and for nervous conditions, melancholy. That red oil possibly linked to blood or, bad humors.
Okay, so the signature points to a use, but
Mhm.
then what?
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. Ancient folks saw perforations,
Yeah.
thought wounds. Modern science comes along, does rigorous trials,
Oh,
and
wow.
confirms St. John's wort is effective for mild to moderate depression. Now, was that science validating the signature itself? Not really, no.
Ah, okay.
But the signature gave healers a memorable reason to try the plant, to see what it did, and crucially, to pass that knowledge on. Until much later, science could isolate things like hyperacin and hyperforin and figure out how it worked for depression. The benefit was real, just understood differently.
Right, so the signature was like a hook, a memory aid?
Precisely. The doctrine of signatures and ideas like it, they were fantastic heuristic devices,
Mhm.
mnemonic aids. Simple, visual, memorable. Plant looks like a kidney, maybe it's good for kidneys. Milky sap, maybe lactation.
Makes sense as a memory tool, but again, how did they make sure they weren't just remembering useless stuff? Or worse, what stopped bad ideas based on signatures from sticking around?
Well, it wasn't just a mnemonic. It was also, in a way, an evolutionary filter for knowledge itself. Think about it. A community uses a plant for generations based on some observation or signature.
Okay.
They are essentially doing a huge, long-term, decentralized trial. Practices that consistently gave good, observable results, even if the reason was intuitive, they get reinforced,
Yeah.
passed down,
And the ones that didn't work?
or were harmful,
Yeah.
that naturally tend to fall away over time.
Yeah.
Lack of results, bad outcomes, people notice that too. So it's this continuous, informal, empirical testing. That's key. It was a practical way to identify, remember, and share potential uses long before scientific methods. A cognitive shortcut that, often enough, hit on something real.
Okay, that clicks. A kind of collective long-term observation, almost like slow-motion
You
science.
can almost see it that way, yeah.
And this path from intuition or observation to modern validation, it's not just St. John's wort, is it?
Oh, not at all. Think about turmeric, curcuma longa, that bright yellow-orange root.
Yeah, very distinctive color.
In Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine, that color was a clear signature for liver issues, bile conditions.
Mhm.
Jaundice? Maybe.
Then modern science.
Absolutely confirms it. Potent anti-inflammatory properties, hepatoprotective, liver protective effects, largely down to curcuminoids.
Yep.
So again, the color wasn't the scientific reason, but it pointed towards a real pharmacological effect.
But it wasn't always just about how it looked, right? Some traditional uses seem to come from other kinds of observation.
Totally. Take willow bark, Salix species,
Yeah.
used for pain and fever way back in ancient Egypt, Sumeria.
Wow, that old.
Yeah. And that probably wasn't about shape. Maybe the bitter taste, or maybe because willows like damp places associated with fevers or aches. combined, crucially, with just observing that it worked.
And that led to?
That persistent folk use eventually led chemists to isolate salicin, which is the precursor to aspirin, a world-changing drug.
Incredible. Any others like that, where it wasn't strictly a visual signature?
Sure, foxglove. Digitalis purpurea. It's used for dropsy, what we call edema, swelling, often linked to heart failure. That probably wasn't a simple shape signature either. More likely, it was centuries of really careful observation. Trial and error by traditional communities noting its powerful effects. Sometimes dangerous effects, too. It's a potent plant.
So, careful empiricism.
Exactly. And that careful learning eventually led to the isolation of digoxin, still a vital heart medication today. So yeah, ancient wisdom involved visual cues, sure, but also taste, habitat, and just meticulous repeated experience.
This really brings us to something quite profound, I think, that often gets missed when we talk about modern medicine, this idea of the pharmaceutical debt.
Yes, it's a striking thought, isn't it?
Mhm.
Most of our big blockbuster drugs didn't just appear fully formed in a lab from pure theory.
Where did they come from then?
Well, their journey often started, centuries ago, in forests and villages. The pharmaceutical industry practice of bioprospecting.
Looking for useful compounds in nature.
Exactly. It often starts by looking at what traditional healers have been using for ages. In indigenous communities, studying their knowledge, analyzing plants they've relied on. And many of those uses, as we've discussed, were initially guided or remembered using things like the doctrine of signatures, refined by generations of observation.
So there's a direct lineage, in a way.
An undeniable lineage, even if indirect. It's like that Zoran quote you shared earlier. A well-worn path, even if no longer the fastest, often leads to a hidden spring. Discard wisdom merely because its map is old, and you might miss the very source of life.
That really hits home in this context. Okay, so let's recap where we've been. We've looked at how things like the doctrine of signatures weren't just quaint beliefs,
Right, they were powerful tools, heuristics, mnemonics.
helping pre-literate societies remember and share knowledge about plants, leading to uses like St. John's wort for melancholy, turmeric for liver stuff, willow for pain, foxglove for the heart.
And we touched on that big idea, the pharmaceutical debt. How so many modern drugs trace back to those ancient paths, those traditional practices. Bioprospecting often just follows those old maps. It's a testament to that enduring folk wisdom, that collective trial and error over centuries.
Right. So now for your own deep dive, we've got a little challenge for you. We're calling it the Dragon Trial.
Oh, intriguing.
Yeah. We want you to pick a common plant or natural substance, one where its modern use isn't obviously tied to its looks or name. Think aloe vera, ginger, rosemary, garlic, plenty to choose from.
Okay.
First step, do a quick bit of research. What are its main modern scientifically validated uses? What are the active compounds? So for aloe, you might find its use for burns, skin healing because of its polysaccharides, right? These complex sugars.
Danger for nausea because of gingerols.
Exactly. Find that modern scientific basis. Then, and here's the fun, imaginative part. Put yourself in the shoes of, say, a Renaissance herbalist, way before science could prove why it worked.
Okay, stepping back in time.
What plausible signature could you invent? Something visual, maybe textural, where it grows, how it grows. What sign might have first made your ancestors think it could work for its known modern benefit?
So connect the modern use back to a possible ancient observation.
Precisely. Like, could ginger's gnarly, twisted root have suggested it settles a knotted stomach? Or aloe's cool, slimy gel? Maybe that looked like a protective layer, good for skin.
Ah, I see. Making that imaginative leap.
Yes. Try to justify your invented signature. Explain the intuitive connection, the analogical thinking that might have happened back then.
How does doing that sort of reverse engineering a signature, how did that help you understand how these discoveries might have actually happened historically? How intuition could have kicked things off before science stepped in?
It's been quite a journey today, hasn't it? From ancient signatures to modern labs. It really makes you appreciate the sheer depth of human knowledge gathering over time, that interplay between folk wisdom and scientific discovery.
It's a rich tapestry.
It absolutely is. We really hope you continue your own deep dive into this. There's so much more to explore.